Welcome everyone to the horror show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Ian Fuego here.
Derek Harrod.
Nicholas Aaron.
Marsha Barker.
And we are a horror variety show on YouTube. In case you guys didn't know, we do movie reviews, trailer reactions, how-tos, comedy sketches, celebrity interviews, event coverage, and panels. As you can see, just to name a few things. We were just covering Mad Monster last weekend. We got a bunch of awesome celebrity interviews. So if you want to check any of that out, we greatly appreciate it. Again, it's youtube.com/The Horror Show channel. And if you're interested in this material, we did 2 live stream podcasts called Survival Horror in Video Games that were preparation for this, where we actually went through an entire list of the history of survival horror video games. We structured this just a little bit differently, but if you want to see us talk about it more, you can go and watch those. It's probably about 2.5 to 3 hours worth of content just on survival horror and video games. So,
There's a lot out there.
so that being said, we have this structured into certain categories where each of us will go through and talk about some of our favorite survival horror video games and things along those lines. I don't need to go through and spoil them all right now for you, but that being said, Maestro, let's get her going.
Alright, let me see. Ta-da! Top 3 horror games by Cecil Laird.
Okay, so getting right into the biggest category is the top 3 survival horror video games I've ever played. Now, just so you guys know, there may be a bit of a stretch by some of your definitions of survival horror, but if you're a person and you're at risk of dying and your goal is to survive or beat someone else, that I consider survival horror. So my first one, I'm going to say my number 1 absolute favorite of all time is The Last of Us. It just came out in 2013 and it shook everyone's tree if they played it or even watched the first 10 minutes of it. I have made it a pastime to occasionally go in when I'm feeling bummed and I want to see other people feel bummed. I'll go back and watch people watch that because honestly, it's a testament to just how effective that game is when in the first 10-15 minutes you are so emotionally invested that you break down and you don't even know these guys that well yet. But from then on, you damn sure care what happens to Joel, and when he meets Ellie, you damn sure care about that too. So I love the action in the game. I'm super excited about the fact that we're getting a sequel. For sure. We did a reaction to that trailer, and it did very well for us because it was just super exciting to see them back in action. And so that's why I love The Last of Us. I imagine some of these games will come up again later in the panel, so we're not necessarily going to go super deep on each one of these, but Resident Evil Code Veronica is my next one. And the reason I chose that is because everyone knows that Resident Evil is an absolutely classic, pivotal franchise in the survival horror subgenre. And in my opinion, Resident Evil Code Veronica was the best one. I thought it was the culmination of the early versions of the game with the set camera angles. And it's when they really got to some kick-ass graphics with the Leonardo DiCaprio lookalike, and they did a lot of the slow motion action and the cutscenes, which was some of the early instances of that because it didn't look like a cereal box with a face. It actually looked like a person doing it. So that's one of the reasons I love that. And of course, I think that was one of the ones that you had to split people, right? You did 2 different people, and you could actually visit an area, and you left some things for your other person to pick up later in the game. And the boss battles were amazing. So again, Code Veronica, and I was a Dreamcast person also, so that was one of the few games I was able to justify my purchase of the Dreamcast with.
Rest in peace, Sega.
And then finally, I'm going to say the newest iteration, 2016's Doom. I thought it was after. Get out. No, I thought it was such a beautiful return to form in a world of Call of Duties and Battlefields and games that you have to feel every footstep that you're running and things. This was just like, no, we're going to get back to it. It's like you're on a track, you're moving really fast, it's run and gun. The definition of survival horror in a first-person shooter game. You have to keep running and shooting in order to survive. If you try and stand your ground or play cover games like Gears of War, then you're going to get your ass grassed. So that doesn't work very well. But it was great because they pumped up, the violence quotient with the melee kills where you can literally go up and just rip people's heads off or apart or smash them into the ground. Just in order to gain some extra life back. Like they gave you impetus to be as brutal as possible, because if you got up close and killed them, you get a little bit of life back, whereas if you stayed back with your gun, not so much. But it was just a great, it was a throwback to the old Dooms, Doom 1 and 2 specifically, not necessarily Doom 3, who someone else might want to talk about maybe. But I absolutely love that it brought that old craziness into the new generation in such a spectacular way. So those are going to be my top 3 survival horror.
Great soundtrack too, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
metal shit.
Absolutely.
Cool. Are we ready for Jaime?
Yeah. So you're going to see just a little bit of retread there, but I will leave that for the final pick. So these are in no particular order. I'm going to first mention my favorite incarnation of the Castlevania series. I love the third one because it introduced multiple characters, branching paths. It really added, whereas the second one had some, RPG elements with, I think there was some level building and things of that nature. But this was the first one where you're introduced to Alucard, which is Dracula's son, who everybody probably got acquainted with in Symphony of the Night. I still love this one on the original NES the best. Just the entire universe of Castlevania. We're stoked about that Netflix series that they're working on right now. They have an animated incarnation coming through. Compared to like when they went 3D on the 64, I just feel like this series really is best in that 2D side scroll and just jump around and whip and slash and all that craziness. So yeah,
Castlevania 64 all the way.
Looking forward to it on Netflix.
Blasphemy. So yeah, that's the old school pick. Now I'm going to continue with the Nintendo love because whereas many probably played this on the PlayStation, I adored Nightmare Creatures on the N64. Now I know they had some cutscenes they had to take out because that was still in the cartridge-based days. Nintendo did not want to get with the times and put stuff on disc. But I mean, the gameplay was incredible on this one because it was turn of the 19th century, if I remember correctly. But you've got those tropes of a doctor doing crazy experimental stuff and whatnot. So the story was kind of intriguing, mutated villagers and whatnot in London. I guess that's not quite a village, but nonetheless, Nightmare Creatures, and I think you have Nightmare Creatures 2 up there now that I look a little bit more closely. But it was the original game that endeared itself the most to me. The combat system was crazy and branching, and it was one that I really enjoyed switching off with a friend of mine. I see a guy with his arm up back there. What up, yo?
That's not a bad idea.
Get a little bit more ambiance.
It is a little bright.
Yeah.
Light bright.
Control over that. Yeah.
If you can find the light switch.
But yeah, Nightmare Creatures, I mean, interesting story, a little tropey at times, but it was all about that, multi-combat system. And it wasn't 3D, so there we go.
Yeah, let's leave it there so the camera can still see us too.
Yeah. But I'm going to talk about the one which would probably be my number one, which is Doom 3. And the reason I love this entry so much compared to the remake that Cecil was just mentioning is because this is the first game in my adulthood that I remember genuinely scaring the crap out of me. This is where they expanded on the universe and really gave a deep story, to everything. It is technically a remake of the original Doom game where you're on Mars and, Portal to Hell is open, but the fact that you were just reading journal entries and there was audio bits and, just so much that you could learn if you really wanted to dive deep. And there was just creeping down corridors, and it was much more about atmosphere. There you go.
That's one
Now
too
we're
many.
getting interested.
We need that other one back on.
We need a little bit of atmosphere. Actually, I'm feeling right now like I did when I was going through some of those corridors, and I'm wondering what the hell was going to jump out at me. So it built the suspense so perfectly. It was amazing graphically. They actually did a BFG version. I'm looking at Nick. That was a updated graphics re-release along with the expansion.
They did.
Which was pretty rad
There's also,
status.
I think,
So
a few new weapons added in that one.
yeah, but
That was the big freaking gun, right?
exactly. Yeah, freaking exactly. This is
Technically,
PG-13,
it's called
guys.
Bio Force gun.
There you go. So
Got
yeah,
that.
Doom 3 is technically my favorite entry in the entire Doom series. It really just upped the ante and the creep factor, and I'm gonna hand it off to Dirt now.
Oh, yeah, that's me. Dirt. There you go.
All right. Well, I really like Resident Evil Code Veronica, but I would have to say that Resident Evil 4 was my favorite. It's my favorite game of all time. It was actually the first game that I actually played through all the way through twice, and I don't know.
That's when it changed
they
the
just,
actions, right?
Yeah, it went to a third person shot, and I don't know. Like I just feel like you had way more control of your character. That was one hang up about all the previous Resident Evil games was just the controlling was tough. You know, that was,
Just
I
aim
think that's.
down the hallway and
I
hope
think
hit
you
the right
died
person.
more because of the controlling than
That's what makes
It's so scary though.
It was that plodding, slow movement that built the creepiness, man. Like,
And another thing too was that I just love the bosses in Resident Evil 4. It was just so theatrical, you know. But my next pick would be The Evil Within, which was created by the guys that created Resident Evil. I feel like that was the next Resident Evil game compared to like 5 and 6, which were terrible. But one thing about Evil Within 2 is that it was just so tough. Like I don't play too many video games, but you know I'm a big Resident Evil fan, so I played the hell out of it, and I died so many times. And I think I was playing it on like the beginner's level. It was so frustrating, but you know, like once you actually pass a level, you feel like you accomplished something.
I love that game.
And then another game that was big for my brother and I was Zombies Ate My Neighbors for Super Nintendo.
yeah.
And jeez, we rented this game so many times before we actually bought it. I think my parents.
We could have bought the game twice with how many times we rented it.
I think my parents were just like, okay, let's just get it for already. So, but no, the thing that I loved about Zombies Ate My Neighbors was that it was like a kind of like a parody of all the Universal monsters. Plus, there was also like the 80s slashers and stuff like that were all in this game. And like you know, if you were a big horror fan, then you saw all the references, and you just
multiplayer though, dude.
you just had so much fun with it, and it was like kind of like Gauntlet, where you're kind of going through this maze, and like you know you're trying to find these neighbors that like keep dying and then screw you up, and so I don't know. Those are my top 10.
I just want to talk about Zombies Ate My Neighbors really quick because that was like one of the biggest cross between two game companies that are really prevalent with Konami and LucasArts like coming together to make that game. I own a video game store in Mesa and I can never keep that game in stock, especially for the Super Nintendo. 44 levels. I know it says I think 55 levels if you ever see the box, but there's like 11 bonus levels. You can just tell that when they created that game that they were horror fans. Because I mean, there's the little Chucky guys who throw the axes. If you haven't played that game, you need it. It would have been on my list when you stole it.
Alright, so
You're up next.
Oh yeah, I don't have pictures.
No, no pictures.
I was
Sorry.
late to the party. My number 3 would be Dead Space. I think it's the best usage of lighting in a game and just like sounds where you could hear things. I mean, I'm playing Resident Evil 7 right now, and that's really creepy. But just going down like a corridor and you hear things and you're like, shit, I do not want to go down like and see what's to the right. Really, really good puzzles, problem solving, which I think is one of the most important things for a survival horror game, is that you're not just running around aimlessly killing things. You need to make sure that you're conserving ammunition, things like that. And just, Isaac Clarke's awesome. I just love the character. And he doesn't speak, so he's got that link thing going too. So my number 2 would be another Resident Evil game, but I think it's the best one. I know you guys, Resident Evil 2.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, high five, buddy. 4 campaigns. Question? The first time I ever beat it, I just did it on normal, but I have done it like 1 up. I think there's 2 higher than normal.
If you go to the second to the last one, I haven't seen the last one, if you go to the second to last one, they give me everything that they give you. You have to find it. You have to find it. You have to find it.
No, thank you.
Give it to you, and then it's on one video.
That game's hard. But yeah, Resident Evil 2, there's 4 campaigns, which is just so sick. And then if you get really good and like start speedrunning that thing, you can get Hunk. And then there's even one where you can actually be big white block called tofu, and you get a knife. I don't know what they were smoking when they came up with that.
They were eating rotisserie chicken, actually.
Seriously? But I just even remember, like, I seriously remember sitting with you and we were watching the beginning cutscene for that game. Like, my graphics are never going to be better than this. Seriously. Yeah. What was that guy? And then my number one is a huge curveball, because I just think this is the scariest game I've ever played. It's Home Alone on the Nintendo Entertainment System. You're laughing, but play that freaking game. No joke, seriously. So you're Macaulay, and you're in the house, and this game seriously takes place, like find this game, emulate it if you have to. It's 20 minutes in real time, and you're in the house. Marv and Harry, the wet bandits, are coming after you. You can go down into the basement, you can go up into an attic, you can even go across this line that takes you to this treehouse outside. It's a 20-minute game of hide and seek. They are twice as fast as you. You can hide behind objects, but it really makes no sense. It's a gamble, because if they run past you, sometimes they'll run right past you, but sometimes they'll get you. And then you get these little blocks, and there'll be like a little spider on it, which is supposed to like represent the tarantula and whatnot in the movie. And they have to hit those blocks, and you stun them, and then you just gotta run like hell. I think you can use each block like 2 times, and then they disappear. You hit start, you can see how much the time is. I seriously had a challenge in my store saying, if you can beat the game, your first try. Nobody did. I would give you the game, I would give you a Nintendo, and I think we even said like we give you a $100 store gift card. Yeah.
So come into the store and challenge, right?
I feel like that was the challenge. Now that everyone knows it, they can.
But yeah, we do a Let's Play show, and the very first game we ever chose to do was Home Alone. And I was like so excited, and we were filming it, my best friend went to the store with me, and I ended up beating it the very first time, ever beating this game. I've been playing it since I was a kid, so that was awesome. If you're gonna watch any of those shows, watch that one, because you can actually see it on my face. Like, I am sweating, and I'm gonna just give it away, because you probably won't see it, but there's a really cool thing that you can do. There's 2 things. You can see a picture of Michael Jackson from the Thriller album in the second story, and then you can also do the moonwalk in the game too. And when I beat the game, I was moonwalking as I beat it, and I was just like, dude, this is the greatest moment ever. Besides my daughter being born, which...
Yeah, and that's because at that time Macaulay and the ape and all or the chimp or whatever were hanging out with MJ all the time. And so,
yeah. But no, Home Alone, it's freaking scary. They keep laughing, but it's really scary.
Well, yeah, because we eventually get to the furnace, if I remember right. The hello, Kerber, and all that. That scared me as a kid.
Oh, man, damn, thanks for the nightmares there.
Awesome. All right, so now we're gonna go to my picks. These are a little old school. I'm gonna start with Fatal Frame. Not a lot of people have played this game, but you really should play this game. There's actually 5 in the series, and it's really cool because you can go in and all you have is a camera, and you're supposed to be investigating these ghosts in Japan, like the super scary, crazy houses, and you're like going in, it's so dark, you can't really see anything, and then all of a sudden a ghost will show up and you have like 2 seconds to like shoot them perfectly in your camera, which has limited like Polaroid or whatever it is, and like to capture the ghost or you're dead. And it like just the ambiance of the whole thing just like creeps you out. I can't play that game by myself. I gotta have support. I might even have to be like, okay, I think you gotta do this level for me because it's a little much, but that's why I love it so much. It brings that kind of ghost story into your hands and you get to play it. And what are you gonna do with ghosts? You can't like really do anything unless you're a Ghostbuster, like suck them up or anything. But in these games, like that's all you have is the pictures to get the evidence. So I love that game. It's super fun. If you haven't played it, try it out if you can anymore. I don't know if you can. Maybe PlayStation. Wii U. Oh, sorry. Ooh, that was exciting. Oh, that's
Made her day.
I'm going to skip over one here, and I'm going to go straight to Left 4 Dead, because, and I hate this microphone. Okay, can you hear me here? Here? Alright. So, I'm gonna go to Left 4 Dead because I was so excited when this game came out, because not only can you play it online, but you can actually couch play with your friends, which is like extinct in most cases nowadays. And I don't know about you, but I like to play on my couch with my friends and eat pizza and drink soda and just like hang out. So, like, I don't want to have like 6 consoles in my house and like partying on like 7 TVs. Like, I want to have the couch play, and you can play up to 4 people. Now, because I am a little older, my friends are a little bit more distant. I am playing it on the PC, but you get to play like both Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, and it unlocks all of the episodes for you, so you can play all the way through all the different levels. And it's super fun when random people like come in to play your game and they don't, and you're like listening to them because, okay, just to give you a heads up, my user tag is StickyFace69. So there's like this like, yeah, there's this like 9-year-old kid. There's this 9-year-old kid that comes on and he's all like, Sticky face, there's one behind you. And it's just like so hilarious to me, like to hear that. But so I guess I'm evolving to the online multiplayer games, but it's still cool that you have that couch play factor if you're playing on your regular consoles. And I just want them to come out with more. I don't care if it's like DC, like you just download them and just come up with new stages, but we need more. I want more.
How did you come up with Sticky Face?
Stinky face.
Oh, Stinky?
Stinky face.
I think we all thought it was Sticky.
That's a little bit more personal, but
PG-13.
That's her username on a different app.
that got a little graphic. Wow. No wonder your face is I'm gonna finish this with Silent Hill. I left it for last because it definitely is one of my favorite game series ever. I prefer Silent Hill over Resident Evil. That's why I was pretty much quiet the whole time they were talking, because I was like, I wasn't playing that. I was playing against Pyramid Head and the nuns and like Upside Down World. Hello, come on, Silent Hill is where it's at. I remember the first time I played the game, I was playing with my sister. I was really good on the inside stuff, and she was really good on the outside stuff. So we would go back and forth between the levels. The super sad story about the first one though was, unfortunately, my sister's friend came over while I was not there and finished the game without me. So I don't even know what ending we got, and I was so mad that I refused to play it again until like me and her can actually play it together again. But it was super sad, but I continued the franchise. I kind of skipped over 2 because I wasn't available to play that game. I know.
It's the best.
That's what people say. I saw the ending. My sister showed me the ending because I went there and I was like, I think you have to hit the button to go in the elevator or something, and then she won the game. And I was like, oh, okay, well that's the end. But then I played 3, which I liked because it was continuation of 1, and then 4 was crazy. It was like tunnels and warp holes and just like super creepy at times, but you kind of learn more about the legend. So I was super bummed when Silent Hills didn't come out. I'm still protesting everybody. Yeah.
She didn't even get to play the
No.
thing everyone else got to
I
play.
didn't even get to play PT.
Yeah, PT.
I haven't even watched it on YouTube yet because it breaks my heart that I can't actually play it.
Did anybody in here play PT at all?
Yeah,
It was the
everyone.
best time I ever had walking down 2 hallways.
I'm jealous of everybody in this room right
It
now.
was genius.
Yeah, and there's some like lingering bad blood about that game, if I'm not mistaken, right? Seriously. Anyway.
All right, so what's next, Marshall?
Okay, so moving it on, we got what makes a good survival horror game.
Okay, so this is just more general, discussion answers from us. I think good survival horror for me comes down to scary monsters and resource management that's not annoying. I don't know if I kind of changed that from my actual thing, but if I'm stepping on toes, let me know. But yeah, resource management can be extraordinarily frustrating, but when it's done right, it's really amazing, and it just augments the experience to a whole nother level. Like, I like your Outlasts where you don't have access to stuff, but I like the survival horror stuff where you do have to manage your resources a little bit more, although it can get super tedious when they overdo it. And now that everyone's getting into crafting, I really hope survival horror doesn't go the crafting route. Like, as close as I want to get is how to craft a multicolored herb out of red and green. That's as far as I want to go. Hopefully it doesn't get crazy as far as that goes. And then scary creatures or monsters. If it's just zombies, I don't care anymore at this point. If it's just serial killers, no one's really done a good, like, just straight up serial killer game. Although today, Friday the 13th came out. So if you're interested, we will be picking that up and doing Let's Plays on the channel. That I'm super excited about. But yeah, there has to be good bad guys in order for me to give a crap.
You held your tongue there. Good job, sir.
So yeah, I think I'll cap it there. I don't want to step on too many toes here as we go.
Cool. So I'm going to say the fact that it has to have original, engaging, scary storytelling, because I've played many in a game with like a creep factor that even if the gameplay is just kind of ho-hum, I mean something like even Night Trap for God's sake. I mean, you can really forgive some poor gameplay if the story is engaging, because you're really there for that at the end of the day, at least in my estimation. Also, creepy environment, like you need something like that third Doom game that I was talking about, at least to pull me in, that builds tension, really has you just kind of on the edge of your seat there as you're playing it. And then lastly, can't have really a slow start. And it has to have some scare factor that really hits you right away. If there's like slow pacing at the beginning that doesn't just kind of, reel you in, I'm probably not going to stick with it for 15, 20 minutes of gameplay, as I'm really, trying to wait for something engaging to happen. So that's my criteria.
Well, I think what makes a good survival horror game is great bosses. Like, especially back in the, with older games, trying to figure out the pattern for the boss, learning through trial and error, and then even with like mini bosses where
Good band.
Yeah, great band, mini bosses.
Sorry.
But I don't know, and that kind of goes back to like Resident Evil 4, where you look forward to the bosses. It was so theatrical. So I don't know. It's great bosses.
For me, it's got to be character development. I have to care about who I'm playing as, who am I trying to rescue, or myself. And another thing too is lighting. I said it before with Dead Space. That game is just so graphically amazing. And I'm not a huge graphics guy, but when you feel like you're in the environment, and now with everything going VR, play Resident Evil 7 VR. It's awesome.
We'll get to that.
It's really fun. But basically, you guys kind of covered it. I mean, you just need it to be something that really like gets you from the beginning. And I love it when I can even like just look at a game like the box. Like I'm old school. I'm not old. I'm old school as far as like I used to just go to the video store and you would read the back of their VHS boxes, and that's what made you want to rent it. So when I pick up like a 7 Days to Die, that looks pretty interesting just off the cover for me. And I feel like that's gone because now everybody's just taking the safe route by watching Let's Plays and almost like not having an opinion right away because you've already watched 5 people review the game before you've tried it yourself. I want to go into it like just naked.
Well,
as far as
your personal
That's
choice.
an interesting
Yeah.
way to play your game.
But I just I don't want to really watch a review until I've tried it, and then I love watching reviews of other people doing Let's Plays and whatnot, because then I can kind of be like, oh my gosh, don't you know you can do that? Or, oh man, why didn't I figure that out?
Wait for Death Stranding.
Yeah.
Does anybody watch, by any chance, like any Cinemassacre stuff, like James Rolfe at all? He played Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and I wanted to die. They didn't open any of the trash cans or anything to find weapons, and they were just like, oh, this game's okay. And I'm like, dude, you're like crapping on my favorite game.
Well, judging based on your criteria, how did Alan Wake not make the top of your list if lighting and character development are your top things?
It's good, but I almost felt like, I know that the main weapon in Alan Wake is the flashlight. But when the game is so dark that it's supposed to be scary just based off the fact that it's so dark, it gets old. I feel like it cheapens the experience a little bit. I want to be able to see the environment a little bit more than that. And I know you can just adjust the brightness on your TV, but I'm lazy.
Marcia, what do you think?
It's gotta be the atmosphere for me. Everything from sound design to the environment and the characters, like not character like yourself, the character development of your character. No, I mean like I want Pyramid Head. I want the guy from Evil Within that looks so scary you can crush my head with one thumb. Like, and I want gore. I want blood splattering, and I want to feel it. I want to have nightmares. That is a good horror survival game. A game that I can't play by myself, which is almost a lot of them, but yeah, that's what's gonna make a good game for me. It's gonna make me want to play, or at least watch somebody else play, so I can get into it and find out the story. And obviously, the story is always a big part of these because why would you want to waste 20 to 30 hours of your time on a game that you don't care about the story? But if it really gets you in that mood and makes you feel like I'm scared to go to sleep tonight because I just played this game, then it's a successful game.
Cool.
So.
That's me.
So what makes a bad survival horror game?
All right.
The opposite of
You got a question?
Make it back with like horrible mechanics and storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll get there. Mine, I'm gonna say though, I'm gonna go, the two things I'll mention are the length of the game and lack of evolution. Now, the length of the game, what I mean is, if it's too short, if it's a 4-hour game that I bought for $60, I'm gonna be pissed. But conversely, if it's a generally okay, fun game, but is way too long, like 30 hours, like Alien Isolation, then it can work against it. So, too long or too short can really work against it. But as far as lack of evolution goes, this is where I'm going to bring up Five Nights at Freddy's. Because I loved Five Nights at Freddy's, did Let's Plays of the first 3 games, drunken Let's Plays of 2 and 3, which was a lot of fun. If you watch it, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to yell at you. But the problem is, it's the same scare over and over and over and over again. I mean, yeah, sometimes you can look this way or look that, or move a little bit around the room, or move through vents in sister location, or what have you, but it's still just the same thing, something popping up right in front of your screen, and yeah, it'll get me like the, God damn it, but when that's my scare, that's not fun. When it's like, oh, Jesus, God, that's different than, God damn it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm sure you all know, like, it just gets frustrating, and it's like, okay, I get it, but I'm gonna, and then it just becomes a tedious, patience game, not unlike Outlast 2, where, it's trial and error, and trial and error, and trial and error, and maybe one of the animatronics will pop up, maybe it won't this time, like, it just gets frustrating. So, considering how many of those games we've gotten in such a short amount of time, it's hard to begrudge Scott that, because people keep buying it. But it's a little bit of a bummer when every iteration is just a little bit different. I think there needs to be more evolution than that across a series of continuous games.
Cool. So I actually gave a little preview to my bad one at the very end of the good one. I forgot that we were chopping these up. So it just really has to be engaging right off the bat. I mean, any good horror movie for me has a good kill at the beginning, or just a slight reveal of something to really just plant the seed and just get you intrigued right off the bat. If it's slow paced, if it just doesn't draw you in right off the bat, that's lame and not really gonna keep people on for the long haul. Also, even though I mentioned Doom 3 as being one of my favorites, I'm often not that big of a fan of a first-person perspective for traditional survival horror. That's because I like the original Resident Evil games. I guess that might be another thing I could mention is poor mechanics or controls, unresponsive controls, and overly difficult as well. If it is so frustratingly, mind-numbingly difficult, I actually never beat Code Veronica because I didn't have enough of a weapons cache by the time I was at a particular point in the game that there was no way I was going to be able to beat this particular boss in the third act of the game.
You too?
It did.
When you
So
switched to Chris's game?
I never beat it
See,
because
he
of
was
that.
playing the game behind me, and
Yeah.
he learned that. Yeah.
That is really learning the hard way. When you're like 20, 30 hours into a game at that point, and you're just like, I'm going to have to start over because I'm
I can't
totally
stand that
screwed.
game now
Yeah.
because of that.
Oh, I loved it so
So-
much at the time. I was a Dreamcast, diehard dude.
Oh,
but
all day.
yeah, so it has to be engaging, and it can't be so frustratingly, mind-numbingly difficult that there's no hope in sight. I mean,
Bloodborne, excuse me.
yeah, Bloodborne, right? So, Dirk, what do you think?
Well, it's funny because, yeah, it's that point in Code Veronica when you're fighting Nosferatu. And, I made that mistake too, but I stuck with it. I had like 8 sniper rifle bullets and a knife. And guess what? I killed him. So,
You're a better
It's-
man than me, Dirk.
it can be done.
And if you have no idea,
You
what
just have to
what
die
we're
like
talking about,
57
You just gotta
times.
man up.
So in the game, in Code Veronica, you play as Claire Redfield first, and basically anything that you leave in your treasure chest at the end of Claire's game gets moved over to her brother Chris when you start. And when you start as Chris, you're doing a boss battle immediately. So you need that shit. And I had all of my guns with Claire, and then started off Chris against this big, huge, like worm thing in a cave, and it just you couldn't beat it. You couldn't beat it. So you put in 8 hours.
I did.
Because yeah.
But I don't know what makes a bad survival horror game. I'd say controls. Even though I love the Resident Evil series, yeah, those first couple games were really tough to get through. But I think that it was just because of the stories and stuff like that to those games. It got me through it. Another thing too is just like when you have to use too many buttons. Like I think that when you end up having to use combination of buttons to do a move, I think that's when it gets just a little bit too much for me. And I think Evil Within, there was just so many controls to that, and I was just, I'd start to have to look down at the controller because I'd forget. Okay, what do you do? All right, left trigger and then X or whatever. I was just, oh man, I would get frustrated with that. Actually, I've never beaten that game.
That's actually the case with a lot of PC keyboard games, though, too, man, where you have to remember the keyboard functions along with, your mousiness.
Oh
and
yeah,
such.
yeah. I can't play PC games.
Yeah.
It's hard enough with a controller for me.
I love that you brought up the crafting thing earlier, because do you guys remember this game called Dino Crisis?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Capcom.
God, I hate that game. No, actually the game was great. I mean, it's made by Capcom, but when you had to mix those darts to get different things to happen to the Velociraptors, it just got tedious after a while, and it really slowed down the gameplay. And talking about my biggest thing with the 90s with survival horror games was bad load screens.
Oh, yeah.
Now, when you were going through Resident Evil and you were running down because those dogs broke through the window and they were chasing after you, and you got to the door and you got to see the hand grab, you were so happy. But then there's other games where there's some weird loading. I was playing a game that I love, Until Dawn. It's great. But there are some really, really bad times in that game where there is a load screen happening right in the middle of action, and I feel like it kind of kills the suspense a little bit. So they just got to be careful where they're doing some of the loading times. But I kind of nitpick with that a little bit. But it was a good song, because you guys have basically covered it.
Destructible weapons. I think that ruins my life because when I pick up a weapon, I want to kill as many things with it on stops. And if I'm going to craft a weapon that's cool, I don't want it to break in 5 hits, because then it's why did I just spend an hour crafting this thing, finding all the tools and all the ingredients?
Have you played the new Zelda game?
No.
Yeah.
Don't.
I can't do it.
What was Nintendo thinking?
Oh, man.
Woke up for that, huh?
So to me, having to craft weapons and then it just break is just, it just takes away from the game because all you want to do is play the game. I just want to go through it. I want to discover everything. I want to find everything I can and go through the story. I don't want to have to spend my time trying to craft these weapons. And the same thing with difficulty though, because I love the Evil Within, but I got so mad in the first level because first I'm like, oh no, he got me. And then it's like, my husband was like 3 rooms down and he came out terrified that there was something going on with me because he could hear me screaming and just absolute frustration. Like, I can't believe this. I've done everything I possibly do and this motherfucker
Dude, a hard
still hits me.
It was only
Sorry, but yes. Sorry, rated R, Marsh Parker.
One last thing before
No,
we
you actually
go on.
have word in the
Earmuffs
PG-13
and
film, so.
One last thing I wanted to mention was, and actually I want to get everyone's opinion, so just real quickly I'm going to ask you guys what you think of this. Raise your hand if you're okay with it, keep your hand down if you're not. Quick time events. Ooh, we have a majority of no's here. Okay, just curious, because I think it's been used okay. Like here's where I thought it worked okay. I thought Until Dawn did it really well.
Oh,
Because that was like, oh, my life really depends on this quick time event. I gotta really. But if it's God of War, killing things the 800th time, that's frustrating. So I was just curious where everyone thought. Yes. Yes. Bad checkpoint systems.
Dark Souls.
Oh, yeah. So frustrating. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a
That's
good
the
point, too.
frustration of Resident Evil there.
Sometimes, yeah. All right, what's next, Marsha? Moving right along.
Just want that guy's hat.
Best
Just
score.
row.
Okay.
Oh, that's beautiful, man.
For my best score, did you change yours? Can I go with the old one, or what did you stick with?
I don't know. Just go.
All right.
I think you picked this. No, you picked something different.
I did. I changed it. Okay, so I went with Until Dawn because Marsha took my number one. But Until Dawn, I thought, did an excellent job of portraying film-style violence in a video game, and in such a cool, over-the-top way. I mean, the scene where someone gets sawn in half, whether you wanted that person to get sawn in half
Who
or
did you
not.
choose?
I saved the girl. Yeah. Well, technically, no one died at that part, but whatever. It's your old game, guys. But anyway, yeah. So I thought the gore was tremendous and classic horror movie style gore. The way it was shot, was gorgeous cinematography in that game. So they really took the time to make it feel less like video game gore and more like good horror movie gore, which the whole thing was to make it feel like an interactive horror movie. So I thought they were truly successful in that.
And there was the one with all the branching paths and everything.
Yes.
I saw you playing. Yeah.
Love that one. Wait.
Best score for me is, I'm trying to remember when I decided on one because we didn't go with, yeah, that's right. It came down to 2, and they were both preemptive of the ESRB getting put into effect and everything. So I remember in the late 80s, a buddy of mine had a TurboGrafx system, and like nobody that I knew had the TurboGrafx system. And there was a game called Splatterhouse that came out on that, which was essentially, you're this little nerdy college student kid, and he gets killed, and he's resuscitated, resurrected, whatever, by a possessed Jason mask that he puts on. Gets all big and beefy and buffed out.
And
And
just
he's
have a 2x4? Like, what is he? He just like whacks.
I think he
people
had a
on the side?
baseball bat.
Okay, yeah.
Nick backed me up here.
Yeah,
There was
you
like
get a
multiple
baseball bat, you get a
weapons.
shotgun in the game.
Yeah.
Like the first level is boss. It's like something out of Evil Dead. Like you're in a room and all these objects are just coming to life. Like it'll be a knife is the enemy that's just floating in the air,
Yeah.
and then like flies and attack you, some like demonic shit. But it's awesome.
No, it was
And
so.
just like the backgrounds too, man. You hit
Mhm.
somebody in the belly would just explode, and you would just see this green slime come out.
I think it was one of the first games that ever had on its home release a parental warning on it.
Did
It
you
was
play
like
the
not
Xbox 360
appropriate
one?
for children or for cowards.
Did you play the newer one that came up for the Xbox 360 PS3?
not.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so gory, dude.
Was it?
Yeah, the first one that I actually got to have in my hot little hands, as Cecil would say, though, is they did a sequel on the Mega Drive and the Genesis, and so that was the first one one I actually got to own. But I mean, there were nods to so many horror movies in that, from Friday the 13th to Evil Dead 2, like you mentioned. I mean, there was even a Dr. West who was like, Herbert West, for any of you fans of Stuart Gordon and stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, it was just Reference City, and it was one of those first games. And I mean, they had aliens that looked straight out of the Alien games in the second entry, if I remember. So it was violent, it was delightful, and some of the first gore that I encountered even before the original Mortal Kombat game.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, I said the Mortal Kombat series, but so it could be any of those games. I remember like just being, I don't know, I was like 10 years old and going into an arcade and like seeing so many people crowded around an arcade game, and I was just like, what is going on? And I remember trying to like get in through all these like older kids and seeing that game for the first time and thinking like, oh my god, this is new. This is to think that they like took pictures of like real people to create the animation and stuff like that. It just felt so realistic to me. Just seeing like people getting their hearts ripped out and like their heads getting knocked off and like
a cool thing too is that August 11th through the 13th, I'm like plugging something that I don't want to work for them. It's going to be here at Phoenix Convention Center. There's the Game On Expo. That original actors who played the characters for the first Mortal Kombat, second Mortal Kombat, they're all going to be here.
Oh my god.
Which I'm super excited to meet Johnny Cage, who was also Scorpion and Sub-Zero and Reptile. Like those people were actual martial artists too, which was really sweet. Like I know Jason did with Frank's here, Tommy, Green Ranger. I just want him to do a chika like one time for me.
What's yours then, Nick?
What's up?
What's your most best one?
It's a game that no one's gonna probably have heard of. It's from 1986. It was an arcade game called Chiller. Exactly. So the thing that I thought was really messed up about this game is it later came out for the Nintendo, but it didn't get the seal of approval from Nintendo, so it really couldn't be sold in stores because it was so graphic. But the basis of the game is that you're just this demented word she said earlier, and you're in these torture rooms, and these people are hooked up to these like medieval devices, and all you're supposed to do is just shoot them as fast as you can. You cannot be killed, and there's just a time bar going down. And you have to try to kill them before the time bar goes down. That's it. But if you just like shoot them in the face, just like a chunk comes off. But if you shoot the rope next to the face, this thing comes down and just slices their head off. And it's just crazy. And this is in 1986, so think of graphics back then. Mario Brothers, Metroid just came out. And this was like a light gun game in the arcade that I think that they only had about 800 of them, like made for the United States. So to find one of those arcade cabinets, and the only way I played it was through emulation, but it's definitely a really, really twisted, messed up game.
Marsha?
I picked Evil Within, which is kind of what I was just talking about, but it was so gory. I loved it. Just like when you would kill something and their head would explode, and just the blood and everything about that game was just what you want from a gory game, especially a game like that when you're trying to survive and you're like fighting these creatures that could definitely pop you like you're a mosquito. So I went with Evil Within.
Yeah, you wake up in a upside down in an abattoir basically.
Right.
The dude is carving up other humans.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
Yeah. You can just feel the blood squirting.
Whoa.
You feel
Next. All right, so best film adaptation.
Yeah.
Now,
this is debatable.
this is going to be fun. Now, okay, so before I get to mine, again, this was tough because there aren't that many really good ones, but I'm saying right now that I'm choosing this, but I'm firmly hoping that the Five Nights at Freddy's adaptation blows these out of the water. I hope. Yeah?
It's
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Blue House.
Scott's been working on it for a little while, and they released a little bit of art not too long ago, and it looked really freaking good. So I think they might be. Yeah, I think so. So the one I went with is Mortal Kombat, because as cheesy and stupid as it is, I still think it's one of the best adaptations of a survival horror video game, and it was fun, and I was 15 or something when it came out, so I really love the hell out of it. We're rushing through a little bit because we're running low on time, but yeah, Mortal Kombat is definitely mine.
Dude, that fight between Johnny Cage and Scorpion is hands down the best in the entire movie, man. Where
That
he's like
movie
slicing them up with the
will
shield and everything. I love it.
$500 sunglasses, asshole.
Soundtrack was awesome too. So,
The
my
soundtrack, yeah, man, it's at every NBA basketball game you'll ever go to.
Mid-90s, man. Fist pumped at like jock jam status type stuff. Anyway, yeah, I have those. So, the original pick that I was going with is up there in the center, but Dirk actually beat me to it. Apocalypse is my favorite entry in the series, but I'm going to let him discuss it. My backup is the fourth film in the Resident Evil series called Afterlife. And that was where Paul W.S. Anderson returned to the franchise after not being there for 2 and 3. Even though he didn't direct 2, I still like it the best, but 3 I thought was just god-awful. I hated Extinction, and when we were in the desert and stuff, it just didn't do it for me. But the fourth one implemented amazing 3D stuff into it, and it's still one of the best 3D movies I think I've ever seen in the theaters. They're like flicking sunglasses at the screen, and there's a fight in this bathroom, if I remember correctly, where there's like chains coming right at your face and everything, and also the scene at the beginning where, if I remember, there's a bunch of clones of Alice and they all storm the... It's a good movie, man. I think it's the last good entry in the series that they made.
The fifth one was god awful.
Oh, it was wretched, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The final chapter was that.
They
And they're actually rebooting
They
the
ruined their
franchise right
lore.
now.
I did not like that.
Yeah.
Dirk, go ahead. Alright, so
Yeah, they are actually
I
doing
did
the
pick
reboot.
Resident Evil Apocalypse. I remember seeing the first one and being like, was that about Resident Evil at all? I don't know.
It was Alice.
Yeah, Alice. Who's Alice?
Had that Marilyn
You know?
Manson soundtrack though, it was pretty cool.
So I think that why I picked Apocalypse was it actually felt like a Resident Evil movie. You had Nemesis, you had Jill Valentine.
She was awesome.
You know, you had characters that you remembered. There were scenes in it that like just totally felt like you were playing the video game, like you know, watching it. I don't know. That was my pick.
And I mean, honestly, the reason that one was so rad in my opinion was because it stopped trying to be like a full-on horror movie. It knew that it could really be cheeseball action and still have some of the references in there.
There was wrestling moves at the end. That's when I started being like, what is going on? These movies don't need to exist, actually. That's what I thought.
But just to clarify, Nick was asking, James Wan is behind a reboot of the Resident Evil films, which is pretty exciting to think
Let
about.
it
So,
die.
anyway.
I couldn't stand those movies. I like the CG ones, like Degeneration was good.
Yeah.
With following Leon and Claire and whatnot. I thought they did really well. Damnation was really well done. And they bring some characters like the Tyrant and stuff, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Mine would be, I think, one of the scariest video game movie adaptations, Street Fighter the movie. Now, I will say Raul Julia tried really hard to pull off Bison.
Of course.
But Jean-Claude Van Damme had that one scene, like the first time you meet, who's seen that movie?
I'm going to kick Bison's ass.
Yes. He wants to go home, or he wants to come with me. Like that was like that. Yeah, so, but like even Ryu and Ken throughout that entire movie, you don't even know if they're good or bad. And like towards like about 80% through, they're like, dude, I can't believe that we're getting in trouble. We're the good guys. They have to remind you that they're good throughout it. And Belrog's like a cameraman.
Mm-hmm.
They made E Honda Hawaiian.
Yeah. They did a really scary job with Blanca.
But there's a real, oh gosh, dude, that wig. But there was a cool scene in that movie I did, like when Honda and Zangief were fighting on Bisonopolis, which is a city model that apparently needs a bigger food court because that's one of the lines that he says. But it's like a throwback to Godzilla because they start doing all the sound effects and stuff. And I love Toho films to death. Like it's one of my favorite franchises. But yeah, Street Fighter, you can't make it through that movie in one sitting.
Is that a challenge?
But yeah, but I love it because it's so bad.
Marsha?
Obviously, I picked Silent Hills, or Silent Hill 1 and 2. I know, I keep saying it. No, I didn't think the movies were really that great, but just living through Silent Hill and just seeing the characters come alive and see Pyramid Head and just watching the just horror that was happening on the screen, like they really captured that underworld of Silent Hill And I really was excited to see not just the first one, but the second one. And I would watch a third one, even though they are a little ridiculous, but it just brings me back to that world, and I just want more. So, but we're ready. We have 7 minutes left, so let's hurry up with the last one here. Is the future survival horror game.
Yeah, so this, you guys, I think, well, I mean, I don't know that we all have individual picks, so let's just do discussion right here, which, to me, I think survival horror's future is in two different things. It's in VR and it's in independent gaming. It's not the big AAA titles. I mean, I guess it's the big AAA VR titles, but it's not necessarily. Outlast 2 is not going to be doing well. It's doing terribly critically, but you know, it took a step back from the first one, in my opinion. However, you know, the VR. Again, it's in its infancy, but Resident Evil 7 is unbelievable. It was great. We played the first half of it not in VR, and we're going to do the second half and the first half, obviously, because we got to play through again on a different system in VR. And the little bit we did play, it's so intense, it's so immersive, and it allows for scares like just the type of thing I was always hoping for. And then the small indie titles like Little Nightmares that just came out, it's an amazing sort of, it's got almost a dark Disney aesthetic, but it's just a side scroller in the vein of Limbo or you know something like that. But it's really amazing, and so that's what I think. I think it's VR and small independent horror titles. What do you guys think?
I'm going to say what I would like to see more in the future, because I think they've kind of dried up a little bit. I liked the old point-and-click mystery kind of stuff like Phantasmagoria, D, Seventh Guest, stuff like that. I thought that stuff was really rad, very immersive, and focused a lot on telling a story that was compelling. And you know, story is key for me. I can get past some boring gameplay and stuff like that. And if there's a compelling story to tell, bring it on.
I don't know. I think augmented reality. I think that's future, especially with phone games and stuff like that. Seeing through your camera, like creatures and stuff coming at you that are in your room.
Can you guys imagine a Pokemon Go except
Dude,
Ghostbusters?
I would never be
Try
able
and
to
capture the ghosts, you know what I mean? Like,
That would be dope.
Yeah.
that'd be awesome.
Oh,
Take that
Ghostbuster.
You just
Augmented
you
reality.
can
That would
choose
be
to
awesome.
somebody. That'd be great.
Yeah.
We'll
So,
see. Who knows?
That's
You
a
know,
good
it's
idea.
like, I can't predict the future. I love video games, and I love not knowing what's going to be coming out and how it's going to evolve. So we'll see. I don't know.
Marcia?
I'm VR all the way because I have never had so much fun playing it. We have some Let's Plays that are pretty comical when I'm on there because we're going through that roller coaster game. What was
Until
that?
Dawn Rushes Blood.
Yeah, and I was seriously like kicking my feet like it was gonna do something to kick off spiders, and I'm waving my hands. I'm like double cocking the shotguns, and I can hear him. He's like, "You don't have to like do that." I'm like, "Yes, I do."
All you have to do is press a button, but she's going Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh yeah, you gotta get in it. You gotta get in it. It's awesome.
Good luck.
It's just it gives you that overall experience that you want to have, like especially when you're a true fan and you just want to get in there and you want to have that experience. I can't wait to do Resident Evil 7 on that because I think I might pee myself.
I think I can wait to have you do it.
I'll wear some diapers. It'll
Okay.
be fine. It'll be fine. I'll come prepared.
Evil Chronicles that way.
Oh, what's that?
Imagine if they actually did Dark Side and Umbrella Chronicles and a massive version like that.
Yeah, it's just so cool. I think that that whole direction of video gaming is just gonna open everything up for everybody, and they're just gonna make it a little bit more affordable for the Wii folks.
Exactly. So, well, that's going to cover it, you guys. Thank you very much for joining us for Survival Horror and Video Games. Remember to subscribe to us at youtube.com/thehorrorshow channel. And if you guys liked this panel, download the Phoenix Comicon app because you're able to rate panels. If you're able to give us a good rating, maybe they'll bring us back to do more for you guys next year. So thank you very much.
I'm glad to know what games we missed.